In the midst of a rising political storm, a war of words has sparked bewilderment and uncertainty, as former and current leaders of the United States lock horns over their stance on NATO. It's not a very good time for Europe. Trump's recent comments have cast doubt on America's most important alliance, NATO, raising questions about whether he will abandon the organization. The arena is tense, with Donald Trump, the former US president, and current President Joe Biden playing significant roles. Trump recently stated that NATO countries who don't pay their share shouldn't expect any help. This statement has escalated tension in Europe and sparked reactions within NATO. In response, President Biden warned everyone not to underestimate Trump's words. He said that these comments haven't been seen in US diplomacy. Despite criticism, Trump stands by his words. He said if he became president again, he wouldn't help NATO members who don't meet their defense spending targets. As this situation progresses, Europe is in a tricky position. The world is watching closely, waiting to see what happens next in this major power struggle. Let's take a step back and look at the history of Trump's relationship with NATO. From the onset, Donald Trump has always shown skepticism towards this alliance. During his 2016 presidential campaign, he famously called NATO obsolete, stirring up controversies. His stance intensified during the 2018 NATO summit, where he made controversial statements that shocked allies. He openly criticized NATO members for their low defense spending, arguing that the US was shouldering an unfair burden. This bold stance sent shockwaves through the alliance, marking a significant departure from past US diplomacy. During his presidency, his policies reflected this skepticism. He repeatedly threatened to withdraw the US from the alliance if other nations did not increase their defense spending. This historical context sets the stage for the current tensions. As we move forward, understanding this backdrop is essential in deciphering the unfolding drama between Trump, NATO, and Europe. The United States significantly contributes to global military spending to uphold its global influence. Trump's intention to redirect some of these funds domestically raises concerns in Europe. If he secures another term, European nations might be compelled to increase defense spending, potentially straining their economies. Despite NATO's significance, many countries still lag behind the US in defense expenditure. In 2023, the US allocated about 3.5% of its GDP to defense. For too long, the United States has borne the weight of NATO's defense costs. With a military budget of $877 billion in 2022, the US far surpasses any other nation, contributing 39% of global military spending. This stark contrast highlights America's predominant role in defense expenditure compared to countries like China and Russia. The Eurozone's three largest economies, France, Germany, and Italy, are growing at rates well below 3.5%, with their sizes also significantly lagging behind the US. This situation supports arguments for increased European defense spending. Further financial strain could come from proposed US trade tariffs, potentially leading to a minimum of 10% on European imports if Donald Trump is re-elected. This, along with higher defense costs and the loss of cheap Russian energy, could severely impact Europe's economy. It's a daunting thought, isn't it? But the financial strain doesn't end there. Trump's suggested trade tariffs on the European Union compound Europe's economic woes. These tariffs could have far-reaching effects across sectors, from agriculture to manufacturing, potentially resulting in higher prices and job cuts. With the looming threat of tariffs and heightened defense spending, Europe's economic stability hangs in the balance. The shadow of Trump's policies looms large over Europe's economy and NATO's future. Trump wants Europe to spend more on defense, which could hurt their economies. This could mean less money for important things like healthcare and education. Imagine farmers protesting because they're worried about their future. The loss of cheap energy from Russia makes things even worse, potentially raising costs and recession. Trump's policies could push Europe to rely more on itself, reshaping its role within NATO. It might also encourage Europe to look into other energy sources after reducing its dependence on Russia. Europe faces challenges such as geopolitical tensions with Russia and China, all of which impact NATO's security landscape. The ongoing farmers' protests and the conflict in Ukraine further complicate the situation, requiring strategic responses from European leaders. The key lies in how Europe responds to these multifaceted challenges and transforms them into opportunities. That's all for today's analysis on Trump's NATO stance. If you found this video informative and want to see more content like this, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd also love to hear your thoughts on the subject. Do you think Europe can transform these challenges into opportunities? Or do you see a different outcome? Leave your comments down below. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.